Welcome to Figures Podcast. In this episode, we will be talking to Derek Hood, owner of Crave Restaurant. I'm your host, Chris Jones.
All right, well, this is Derek Hood with Crave Restaurant. Why don't you make an introduction?
My name is Derek Hood. Lived in Boise, Idaho since 1992. I've got a chance to know Chris quite some time now, and excited to sit down and visit with him a little bit about the restaurant industry.
Perfect. Well, I appreciate you taking the time today. As you guys all know, what we're really trying to do is highlight different entrepreneurs and some of the success stories they've had. Derek just opened a restaurant, Crave Kitchen, as he mentioned, and that opened during the health crisis. So he has some interesting insight into how that went and how it impacted him and broadly the restaurant industry. There's a statistic that recently came out that mentioned that there's over $250 billion in lost revenue anticipated for this year in the restaurant industry. So, it's definitely a challenging time to be able to open one given the restrictions. So Derek, tell me a little bit about your entrepreneur story.
Sure. Well, I guess it started right out of college. I got a chance to move to Boise in 1991, opened up the Chili's on Broadway, and actually worked there for 10 years. A lot of experience, kind of working for a national chain, corporate chain, so to speak. And ironically enough, we were a franchise group, so I got a chance to have some ownership. When we sold the company, I stayed on for probably about another year afterwards and decided that, with all the changes and the corporate lifestyle, I decided I'd like to try to take a stab at it on my own. So I actually started a pizza restaurant chain called...
What was the name of the pizza place?
Called Primo's.
Okay.
So started that. Had one unit here in Boise and wound up growing that to 8 units, one all the way out in Wyoming, a couple in Oregon, wound up franchising that. And that's really kind of my first taste into the entrepreneurial spirit. And that was you learned a lot from your first rodeo, so to speak.
Oh, I'm sure. And obviously, that's probably a cumulative learning experience, right? Every opportunity.
You figured out real quick, banks don't like restaurants, so
sure. Or any startups for that
right.
matter, right?
So you get your first startup going, and you got to be creative, right? So heard a lot of no's. We'll come back and see us when you're up and running. So basically, put my house up for a second mortgage. Took the cash out of that. And back then, I don't know if you remember, but people were just giving away credit cards, so to speak, with 0% interest first year, et cetera. Sure. So crazy as it is, I actually didn't have enough money with my house, so I wound up getting about 5 different credit cards, all with about a $5,000 to $10,000 limit, and finished, buying all the equipment, all the supplies I needed to open my first restaurant. So not married, no kids. I figured if I was going to go down in flames, at least I'd be by myself. So that was was a big part of kind of, just really taking the first step's the hardest, actually getting out there and getting it done, and really not taking no for an answer. I think that's the biggest thing I've learned in the first one, that people are pretty skeptical.
Well, it's pretty amazing how you rolled the dice. So, from there, what did you do?
Wound up, doing that for about 8 years. Like I said, we franchised it, got everything up and running, a lot of systems, a lot of controls. You learn a lot of things along the way with different lease negotiations, with, food vendors. When you do a franchise agreement, they've got to buy certain products from you. So you got national contracts with Coke. We wound up getting a national flour contract, and I would actually sell back the flour to the franchisees. Do the same thing with cheese. So you just learn a lot about business and how things evolve, and a lot of the behind the scenes that you never knew when I worked for Chili's for a long time. So after a while, about 8 years, I sold all of that to a gentleman, took some time off, and just kind of enjoyed life for a little bit after working hard and traveling and different things.
Well, that's perfect. And then you obviously stepped into this, or did you have something prior?
Yeah, I had something prior, so I got out of the pizza business, which is a tough business between couponing and discounting, and plus we were all-you-can-eat buffet, so you can imagine the margins were tight, et cetera. But I took about 6 months off, and one day I was driving down the Eagle Road back in the day, and a person was with me. They said, "Where do you want to eat?" And I said, "Well, I want something healthy. I want something, some seafood or, some sushi or something like that." And they said, "Well, good luck." And so right then, the light bulb went off. Said, I had a friend of mine down in Dallas that used to work with. He and I was partners in the Chili's deal.
Okay.
And I called him up, said, what are you doing right now? He said, I'm actually in the seafood business. So he said, come down and spend some time with me and check it out, kind of see what you think. So then we started Lucky Fins.
Lucky Fins.
Yeah,
that's great.
That.
Okay.
So
that was obviously another learning experience.
Totally different learning experience.
Tell me a little bit about that.
You know, the pizza, you're kind of more that, you have a real small niche, but when you get into seafood, people don't like to cook a lot of seafood at home. One, it stinks up their kitchen, it's expensive, and if you screw it up, you feel like you just wasted a lot of money, right? And some people are a little bit scared of seafood. So I went down to Dallas to work in his restaurant for a couple of weeks and kind of find out really all the ins and outs, and we put a business plan together. It was myself, another partner that I've known for 20 years, and we called it 3Ds. That was our original company. So we found a restaurant site here locally, once again trying to do the entrepreneurial spirit and trying to come up with the least amount of money as possible. So we wound up securing a building. The equipment came with the building, liquor license, everything. So we opened the first one for $250,000.
Wow.
Which, in opening up a restaurant today compared to what I opened this one at, is comical, especially with the what we did there. Our first week of sales was $7,000 for the whole week.
That's
so
crazy.
Once again, it's a brand new restaurant. There's no brand recognition, no name recognition, and we since turned that scenario into about a $60,000 a week restaurant.
Oh wow! Well, that's a great success story, right?
It is, and we grew that from one restaurant to we have 5 restaurants in Colorado. Also have one in Arizona, and then we have 4 here in Idaho. So once again, that's been be 10 years this November. So it's another 10-year run, so to speak, within the restaurant business, but totally much more elevated. Stakes are higher, so to speak, than the pizza deal.
So obviously you made a lot of friends and business partners during that process, right?
Yeah, a lot of friends. I mean, being in Boise for a long time, Boise's, people say it's growing, but it's still a small town, and you get to really understand the networking, not only from a vendor standpoint, relationships, but also from customers and all of those types of things, as far as being able to get out in the community, sponsor events, to golf tournaments. I mean, you do. You get to know a lot of networking people.
Sure, and that probably helps, I'm assuming, drive the word. And
I can give you an example how it helped this weekend. We're going to run out of French fries on Labor Day weekend on Sunday here at Crave.
Oh, wow.
So everybody's panicking. I said, let me call somebody.
Sure.
So I made a phone call to the president of the branch. He actually was out of town on vacation. Makes a call to the warehouse. I'm up there on a Sunday when the place is shut down. Wound up getting 2 cases of French fries just because of the person, the networking that I knew.
Oh, wow.
So it's the people side of this is invaluable.
Oh, I can't imagine. And I've noticed that when people walk in your restaurant, you tend to know a lot of names, which is pretty impressive. Yeah.
You know a lot of names, a lot of faces. I mean, the problem is when you start off, I mean, you're only one versus however many come in the building, but they all can remember your name and all the different things. So it's, I tell people, we're in the people business. We're not in the restaurant business.
Yeah.
So once you figure that part out, usually it comes pretty easy. And that comes with the staff as well as the guests. So
that's good. I mean, obviously not everybody's a people person. You are, though, clearly.
I enjoy it. Yeah, I'm technology challenged, but I like hanging out with people and some of those types of things. But it's been a fun ride so far.
Good. So, obviously when you started this company or restaurant,
right.
You did so right in the middle of the pandemic. Tell me a little bit about that. I'm curious.
Sure. I took some time off. I took about 18 months off from traveling and all the ins and outs of all of the Fins concepts. I just took a step back, tried to spend some time with my son. Just wanted to get away from the business for a little bit. In the meantime, through all of my travels and all the different things, you also see a lot of different restaurants in Scottsdale or California or Denver. So as I travel, you always kind of like pick up on little things. And during that time, started kind of looking at restaurant sites and different things, and this site actually came available. But once again, it's a relationship. I knew the owner of the property, the developer, and all of that. So once again, we got time to get down to negotiations. They extended us a pretty good tenant improvement money based upon my experience, our relationship from the past. Not every landlord's going to do that.
Sure.
So
So I do have to ask you a question about that specifically. Obviously, you've started multiple businesses and you've had success throughout the course of doing so.
Yes.
Have you ever, or have you experienced the banks giving you more opportunity because of your track record, or is it a new one every time?
No, they do, but it's once you get established and you've proven yourself. It's like the restaurants, the failure rate is huge.
Sure.
So it seems like when you get out and talk to the banks, they don't want to be a part of the original plan.
Sure.
And usually it takes about a year to 18 months before they want to see the financials roll in and all the different things. As you continue to open up new restaurants, they'll loan you money. And we were fortunate enough to have some good connections and once again, like you talked about, a real good track record. So
sure.
But it's not easy to open the doors from the banks.
I can't imagine.
Not from a startup.
Right?
But
so what advice would you give an entrepreneur trying to start a business?
Have a partner with a lot of money. It always helps. But
Sure.
I think you have to have a plan. You have to know what you're trying to, what your vision is. You got to be able to articulate that not only on paper but also through communication to people and build that dream.
Sure.
I think that's
Well, obviously you have to inspire people too.
Absolutely.
How did you do that? Tell me about that.
As far as first of all, you have to inspire yourself, right? You got to believe in yourself and make sure that what you're doing is you really believe in. And I think part of building a dream and building and starting something, you're going to have all kinds of naysayers. And I think for me, that actually drives and inspires me personally more than anything else.
Sure.
Why is he doing this, or he's not going to make it during that. So as we're leading up to all of this, you have that in the back of your mind. Something's got to drive you to make you get up and really want it and be hungry. And for me, it's the naysayers, or people say, oh, you can't do that, or it's going to be tough. And you got to overcome all of that. You got to believe in yourself.
Well, that's a great lead in, because the next question I was going to ask you was about resiliency and how you've been able to persevere through this pandemic. Can you tell me how you did that?
A lot of emotions. Gosh, you start, in March, of course, still have the other restaurant group, so you saw sales plummet 80%, laying off people and trying to just make it work, and with the curbside delivery and all those things. The economics just aren't there for restaurateurs to be able to not have the doors open. So you start off by hitting the panic button, obviously. In the middle of March, you're 50% into the construction. Everything is full speed. You've already spent way over half of your money. It's not like you can just stop and turn around and go back. So
you were pot committed.
Yeah, I was committed, man. It was kind of like, the pork, the pig and the chicken. The chick is not committed, but the pig, he's committed once he gets to breakfast. So, but it's you just keep pressing on.
So how did you launch the brand in the market? How'd you do that given the environment?
Once again, it goes back to the relationships. A guy named Michael Deeds, known to him for quite some time. He writes for the Statesman. Obviously, plans get out, and people, you start seeing a brand new project in Eagle, et cetera. You kind of work those people, and then they try to help communicate it out. Like I said, I'm not technology challenged. I am technology challenged. So for me, social media and all of that, luckily we had people on our team that really embraced that and knew how to manage that, how to benefit all of that for us.
Can you tell me how important social media and branding has been for what you've done here?
I'm a believer in all of it. I don't necessarily understand it just because I'm not involved on a day-to-day, but as far as seeing results and seeing people like things and seeing how much people share things, and really on a platform that doesn't really cost the businesses anything except for upfront time to put something together, and then someone to actually be managing the project. So that was kind of our word of mouth. To even when it comes to hiring, hey, you just don't run ads in newspapers anymore. It's kind of the typical way, right?
Yeah.
So the digital marketing, whether it be Indeed, website. If you can't do it on your phone, somehow, even in our business, people want the app, they want to be able to order online, they want to be able to pick it up. Everything is so technology driven. It's amazing how it's just kind of integrated even to the restaurant business.
Well, I'm sure. So, one of the things that a lot of entrepreneurs talk about is how they take the one central message, and they utilize multiple platforms to do that. I think they call it omnichannel.
Okay.
Do you guys really focus around that particular aspect, or have you guys created a central message?
Well, I guess we each of us have a different role that we kind of play. We've got some people that help with the social media aspect.
Sure.
But as far as the actual central marketing message, I believe in the 4 walls marketing.
What is that?
You get people inside your 4 walls,
Okay.
and you take care of people. You take care of them through service.
Sure.
You take care of them through food. If you do that, when they leave the restaurant, hopefully they're going to go out and market for you. So
Sure.
I call it 4 walls marketing. It's kind of the old grassroots, playbook, right? But that's all I know is, being in this business is, and people say, who's your competition?
Yeah.
The standard, everybody's like, well, no, it's not. We're our biggest competition. Usually
Sure.
we'll screw it up before anybody else can, do it. So for us, it's take care of your 4 walls and let everything else, take care of itself. But once again, you've got a team though that's also helping promote on the outside. So kind of the operations on one side and then all the support groups on the other.
Well, that's great. So, what is really driving you now? Like, what is it?
Man, it's trying to keep the tiger by the tail, so to speak, because it's a brand new restaurant. There's so many facets that you don't know. Things change day to day with the COVID. I mean, one day you can have the bar stools, one day you can't. One day you can, you're supposed to be taking temperatures, and then the next day you got to be mandated masks. So it just constantly changes. It's very very challenging. It was challenging before, but add all of this COVID on top of it, and not only is it expensive, but I mean you just have to, it has to be managed daily, shiftly. So,
I'm sure. I mean, how did you handle that with the customers, and how did the customers respond to an opening in the middle of the pandemic?
Oh my goodness. Well, we opened, masks weren't mandated, right? It was only encouraged. So from that standpoint, we left it up to the guest. They wanted to wear a mask if they were coming out, they could come in with their mask. All of our staff wore masks just from a public safety / perception. And then we had guests that wanted to come in without wearing a mask.
Okay.
So once it's mandated, then all of a sudden the whole game changes, because now you're being told what you have to do from the government, basically. And so once you get the government involved, you got separate camps, right? You have the people that are paranoid about getting it, that are coming out, and you have the people that could care less, that it's just, it's the flu. So being in the middle, you're in really a no-win situation. And so just trying to balance the temperaments of the guests as they come in. Once they're even in the building, they still are very observant about what's going on around them. The people that are paranoid, well, how come that guy's walking through here without a mask?
So you actually have customers come to you?
Not very many, but a couple, but it's usually the people that are really concerned. And that's our job, is to make sure that, we try to eliminate as many of those concerns as we can, because like I said, you have to appeal to everybody, and even if you have a dog in the fight, the dog stays out just because you're trying to make sure everybody feels comfortable. It's a challenging situation, and sometimes you get people that are actually rude to people at the front door. We have hostesses, and they talk down to them and tell them what they're not going to do. And then you have the people that are so understanding, and just everybody's just trying to do their part. So whether you're for it or against it, you battle it every day, and then it's just part of doing business now.
Well, you've obviously figured out how to get through the pandemic. You're a prolific entrepreneur. I know that you've with all your experience, you've been able to really build brands consistently, and that's good on you. That's pretty amazing.
We have good people. I mean, it's not just myself. There's such a huge team, and we've fired a lot of people recently. We've been open 10 weeks, and the people, they don't understand the culture, the vision. It takes time to build all of that, but once everyone sees it start to work, I think it becomes a family. And that's, to me, people they want to come to dinner for an experience. I mean, especially now that the entertainment, I mean, there's no concerts. I mean, so basically a lot of the entertainment in the format is really going out to eat, being social with people. Can't really go to the bars. So we try to create that experience for people when they come in and make them feel warm, just like they would, like if I was going over to your house and for one of your parties, the way you made me feel. I mean, hey, what can I get for you? Just, once again, it's just finding your niche and just believing and don't settle. I mean, that's the, once you get to a certain point, you try to stay humble.
And get comfortable.
You can get very comfortable, but all it takes is one thing to kind of knock you off your pedestal or get you bouncing around sideways. So being humble, being thankful, being appreciative to people, especially all of the people that work here. I mean, these people run the risk of getting COVID and taking it back to their family, but they're trying to provide for their family, so it's a
true public servants in that
well,
way, right?
it is. I mean, I'd rather have 70 people working than everyone sitting at home not trying to worry about things.
Yeah.
So
no, for sure. So, what inspiring words would you provide to a starting entrepreneur or someone that's just getting going?
Man, start with your dream, your vision, and like I said earlier, the hardest part is the first step. You can put it all on paper, you can put it all on pencil, you can talk to whoever you want to, but if you don't have the conviction to handle no and to get around obstacles and go through whatever you need to do, it's going to be a difficult, challenging situation. I mean, I don't know, it seems like in today's times it gets tougher, not easier to do business, whether it's technology, restaurants, travel. I mean, there's expectations are higher. That's it. But you got to get used to taking no, and you got to find ways around obstacles. That would be because there's a lot of naysayers out there. There really are.
Well, that's great. Well, Derek, I really appreciate you taking the time to allow me to interview you. I think this is going to matter to a lot of the inspiring a lot of the entrepreneurs out there. And so, thank you.
Thanks for
very
having
much.
me, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
I appreciate it.